What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so this is something that put a smile on my face. The last couple of days we've been having some bad news as far as um, notable people of the past. So to see a face reemerge after 30 years on the big screen is something to look forward to. All right, so let's talk about this. So Rick Moranis is set to make his big screen return after a near 30-year absence. At one point in time, Rick Moranis was everywhere. Okay, Rick Moranis emerged as a star. The first time that people really took notice of him was he was a member of an all-star ensemble cast of a comedy show called SCTV, which was basically like a Canadian version of Saturday Night Live. Afterwards, he transitioned to movies, and I think one of the first roles that was notable of his was as Louis Skolnick in the first Ghostbusters movie. He reprised that role in Ghostbusters 2, but he was also in a lot of other movies. The Honey I Shrunk the Kids franchise. He was also in a movie called My Blue Heaven, where he played an FBI agent, and Steve Martin was a mafia capo, I think, in that movie. I think he was a coach in My Little Giants. I think it was called My Little Giants or Little Giants with Ed O'Neill, aka Al Bundy. I think the last movie he did, I think it was called Big Bully or something like that. And I think it came out in 1996, and he co-starred with, I think it was Tom Arnold. And I think what happened was, I think if I remember reading correctly, I think his wife either got sick and I think she passed away. I think she might have had cancer. And Rick Moranis made the decision to quit Hollywood and take care of his kids because his kids were little. At the time, he was just barely 40 years old. He still had little kids, and he quit to take care of his kids. And I think most people thought it would just been temporary, but he totally faded away from Hollywood. And there was some belief that he would come back a couple of years ago and reprise his role as Louis Skolnick in those new installment of the Ghostbusters movies, but he chose not to do that. But he has decided to come back and play another beloved role, that is Lord Helmet or Dark Helmet, which is a comedic variation of Darth Vader. And in 1987, he originally played this role in 1987 film Spaceballs. Now, Spaceballs made about $38 million at the box office worldwide, which wasn't a huge hit, but it was okay. It's the equivalency of making about $110 million today, but it has a huge cult following. And you can make an argument it's the last great Mel Brooks comedy. Now, I do like Life Stinks, which came out in 91, but Spaceballs was different. It was, of course, it was a take on the Star Wars franchise, 2001: A Space Odyssey, those types of films. And George Lucas was actually a huge fan of Mel Brooks. And to show you how cool a guy George Lucas was, he didn't care about copyright infringement, any of that crap. Matter of fact, he gave advice to Mel Brooks about how to have the stormtroopers designed and how they fire weapons. He get it, you know what I'm saying? It was a parody of the Star Wars movies. But of course, in the Star Wars movies, in the Spaceball movies, the original one, it starred Mel Brooks as Yogurt, which was a variation of yoga. Yoda. And I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, so I got to reboot my brain as far as the names of these characters of the real Star Wars. Like I said, Rick Moranis was Dark Helmet, which was basically a comedic version of Darth Vader. Mel Brooks also played President Scrooge, I think his name was, which it was kind of an equivalency of Emperor Palpatine, but he didn't have any powers. He was just basically the boss, you know what I'm saying? And also in that movie, you had Bill Pullman, who was Lone Star, basically a version of Luke Skywalker. And you had the princess, I can't remember her name, but she was in different movies in the 80s. You had Joan Rivers, who was basically, what is it, CPO, OP3, whatever the fuck the damn thing name is. And you had the late, great John Candy, who was, I forgot the character's name. I think his name is Barf. But he's basically a Chewbacca, you know what I'm saying? And it was very, very funny, man. Very, very funny. And I just hope this movie does justice to the original. Knowing Mel Brooks, he's going to stay true to the comedic format that worked then. There will be probably some references to things going on now to update the movie. There's going to be some updates as far as references, obviously. But I'm pretty sure that it's going to still be a funny movie. Now, the main thing I'm concerned about is, because I don't know exactly everybody that's coming back. You know, I did see that Mel Brooks will reprise his role as Yogurt, and Rick Moranis will reprise his role as Lord Helmet / Dark Helmet, and Bill Pullman will this time play President Scrooge. So I don't think he's going to be Lone Star in this movie. I did see Keke Palmer supposed to be in this movie in some role. So I don't know whether she's going to be. And I already see people rolling their eyes and saying, "Oh boy, this movie's going to be woke." Look, just because a black person is picked in a movie doesn't mean the movie's going to be woke, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's getting to a point where I'm starting to see black people say this dumb shit. Like, look, there's going to be some diversity in movies now. Stop acting like black people aren't 13% of the world of the American population. Probably a larger percentage than that because we're undercounted historically when it comes to censuses. So, and I know because I was a census enumerator, and I was absolutely floored by how many black people choose not to be counted by the census. So I know we're undercounted for a fact. But yeah, stop this nonsense with this woke agenda every time you see somebody's black cast in a movie. But I just hope, honestly, I just hope that I put it like this. I wish the best for Mel Brooks as far as his health is concerned. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Mel Brooks is 98 years old. He's a very healthy and vigorous 98, but he's 98 years old. You know what I mean? So the movie is slated to come out in 2027. I've noticed a lot of reboots have come out recently. I saw that I think in August there's supposed to be a reboot of The Naked Gun. Liam Neeson is playing Frank Drebin. Now, technically that works because Liam Neeson has always been seen as a straight man as far as a serious actor, as was the case with Leslie Nielsen. So I think the casting is top notch. From what I've seen, as far as who they have casted in that movie, I like the casting. I just don't know if the comedy will play in today's world, you know what I'm saying, or in today's climate. I just don't know if the comedy will work. And plus, what I find funny, you know, I notice younger people have a different taste, a different feel about what they find funny. Like when I look at Saturday Night Live now, I don't really find that funny. But if I look at Saturday Night Live in the 80s and 90s, I think it's hilarious. That's just my feel for comedy. So we'll see. But I'm glad to see Rick Moranis back. And I hope it works. I do. May the Schwartz be with you. What a while, what a while.